Hello, everyone. I have a fortune cookie.
Oh, go for it, man.
Let's see what it says. Gonna crack it open. The fortune's sticking out of it, though, so I don't know what that's gonna mean for me. Oh, no, it fell out as I broke it open!
I don't think that's a big problem.
Please, I'm just gonna eat the whole thing.
Go ahead and eat your cookie, and then see what your fortune is. And by the way, that whole thing that I said about eating the half and then reading it and then eating the other half, there is no lore for that. That's just my own made up. But it makes esoteric sense. Yeah, it makes esoteric sense.
Out, the opposite's going to happen. Let me see. That's right. You have the makings of a leader. Take charge. I may be many things. I don't see myself as a leader. Sorry.
I've had people say the same to me, and I think that I function better as a supporter. But then I realize, there's that whole element of great men don't seek greatness; they have it thrust upon them. Exactly.
Oh no! I hope that doesn't mean I'm doing a group project for my for my one class.
You're gonna have greatness thrust.
I don't want to be in charge of that group project.
Look, I think what it comes down to is I think great men don't seek leadership, but they take leadership by default when they see no one else standing up and doing it.
That may end up happening. We'll see. But welcome everyone to the premiere episode of Geeky Geezers on PaPa Pacelli's channel, as well as my own.
yeah. This is we're doing the whole what do you call it? Simulcasting thing.
We're gonna simulcast it. We want to branch out Geeky Geezers to even more people, and but you can still catch it here on my channel, and any one of you who are regularly on Troy's channel, you'll see it there as well.
And the benefit is that I can forward you all to the other side of midnight,
yes,
which apparently I will also be on. I don't know from week to week, but for whatever reason, Deleted Scenes keeps inviting me back. Just like how Netter keeps feeding the squirrels, and now we have a whole shit ton of squirrels in the backyard.
Oh.
And our neighbors are like, damn it, the squirrels. And I'm like, look. There's going to come a day where, you never know where your next meal is coming from. Those squirrels look pretty damn good to me. So, yeah, let them keep coming around.
I hate to say this. What was that movie with, what's her name in it? That really narrows it down. The one who said she was the first action actress.
Oh, that, Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, she was in a movie that she actually was up for an Oscar for. It was actually a pretty good movie. It was about a young girl in the Ozarks, I think.
Okay.
And she was trying to take care of her younger brother and sister, and they were she caught a squirrel, and he says, "All right, you got it. I'll show you how, but you're gonna have to do this on your own in the future." He says, "Do you want to grill it or fry it?" And he says, "Fry."
Actually,
they squirrels.
No. This is good survival tips. If you are going to be eating rat, well, maybe not. I don't know about rat, but squirrel and especially rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
If you can fry them, do it because they don't have a lot of fat on them. So you need to infuse some fat. Yeah,
I've had rabbit before. I think it was roasted once. Yeah,
it is good, but it is overly lean. If your primary protein is rabbit, you will literally die from a lack of fat.
That'd be a good diet meat, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you are trying to decrease calories, that is a good way to go. Just you got to be careful, right? When you start looking like Hugh Jackman with the sharp cuts and the 6-pack abs. Keep in mind, there's two things that somebody does when they're showing off their muscles that way. They're dehydrating themselves, and they have less than 2% body fat. That's not really the healthiest way to go.
No.
They do that to get the shot in a movie or to get the points in a competition, and then they go and they have themselves a pitcher of Gatorade, right? And then they have a cheeseburger, and boom, they look like your dad, basically.
I think Jason Momoa probably goes between those two states, right? Yeah.
No, absolutely. Look, everybody that you see in the movies with those sharp, abs and whatnot, or in a weightlifting competition, in between competitions, they look doughy. They're not, but they look doughy.
Interesting.
But then they spend a week eating almost no almost no fat. Okay, and on the day before, they dehydrate themselves. I guarantee you that 65 to 70% of those guys you see in a competition, showing their muscles and stuff, they're going on with a migraine headache because they're dehydrated.
Yikes, man. I wouldn't know that. All right. I'm going to say hi to the show. First, I'm going to say welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli. You didn't get that already.
Yeah.
Huzzah.
In the description on my channel, I think I have him listed as the host and myself as the drunk sidekick.
Guess it's time to buy stock in Ubisoft. Oh, yeah, they got that Assassin's Creed Shadow game. It's going to shoot right up after that comes out. I'm being sarcastic.
We'll see,
anyway, no, stay away from Ubisoft.
No stock advice here. No stock advice here.
Unless they bring Prince of Persia. Well, they did bring back Prince of Persia, and apparently people did like that last Prince of Persia game, but it didn't sell. And people are thinking because it got Ubisoft attached to it, and they just don't trust the name Ubisoft anymore.
I don't blame them.
Hello, my friends. Awesome new logo. Yes. No, I guess Staffler and Wardorf have retired for the time being, but yeah. That was
I thought it was time to get something that was a little bit more us.
A little bit more us. But it's okay.
But I was inspired a little bit by something that Big Al's said last night, but he said it before too. He likes to change things up every now and again.
Yeah. And
I'm like, you know what? I think you do. You got to keep it fresh.
We've been at this 4 years, so
time flies.
Yes. Chris P, welcome. Always good to see you. At some point, we will do that Contra stream. I have not forgotten. Let's see. Cry Havoc and let loose the Geeky Geezers. Yes, yeah. FKHC 2005, otherwise known as Tim.
Yep.
He says Troy needs hair. Listen.
How many of you out there are VeggieTales fans? Well, where is my hairbrush?
Oh.
I gave it to the Peach because he has hair.
You know what? The old expression goes, God made a few perfect heads and the rest he covered with hair. That's the expression goes.
Well, there's also a scripture that says that God knows, God has numbered the hairs on your head. He knows you that well. He knows every hair on your head. Well, he doesn't have to expend that much energy on me. Right? So maybe he's focused on some other things in my regards. One would hope.
Yes. Then again, everybody, Netter of Netters Network, never forget her. And I know her. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she's good people.
Lady Miss, welcome. Good to see you.
She's good people too, actually.
All right. And deleted scenes, Squirrel. Squirrel, give me some good evening. Good evening, Leia Plus Size. Always good to see you. Winter's Bone. Thank you. That's the name of it. Zootopia, welcome. Jennifer Lawrence won an Oscar for what? Was that a musical on Broadway or something? Or did they make another movie?
I don't remember there being a movie. Yeah.
I might be tempted to see a movie. Never mind.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I've eaten squirrel and rabbit before. I want one tickets to a radio show station, Monster Truck Rally, because my story was about eating squirrels was the most redneck thing. I guess. I don't know. I you know what? The rednecks are people too, We all got a little bit of hillbilly in all of us, right?
Let me tell you something. There's a reason that people moved into the mountains, right?
Yeah.
Because they wanted to get away from government interference and just, survive.
Yes.
And salute to the Clue channel. See you there. Thank you.
Flag with Nate knows. Who knows? Maybe I'll move to the mountains one day if they get decent Wi-Fi up there. Anyway.
Well, I'm looking at you, Elon. If you're going to get that Starlink thing working pretty good, I should be able to get reception just about anywhere, right?
Do it. In fact, Elon Musk will tie into our first good old days tonight because remember when he had that car in space? I know what movie he got the idea from for that from, and we're going to talk about that
Absolutely,
movie
he
for good old
did.
days. In fact, let's just get right to it, shall we?
Tell me about the good old days. What are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about your one trip ticket to midnight, which is not not deleted scene show, but heavy metal.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Look at that poster. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
That's what every guy wants to be, the muscular dude with the sexy women and killing the
Absolutely, but got to cover up because I don't want to be running around with my dork hanging.
Yeah, that was John Candy.
John Candy, right?
Yeah. Columbia Pictures takes you beyond the future to a universe you've never seen before, a universe of mystery, a universe of magic, a universe of sexual fantasies, a universe of awesome good, a universe of terrifying evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Lochnar, right? As I
the
recall.
Lochnar. Any of you, okay, how did you first hear of this movie growing up? Were you able to see it in the theater, or was this like this thing in the background that you knew of but could never see for a long time?
I would say to a degree the latter. Yeah, I didn't get to see it in theaters. Actually, I initially didn't have the inclination to do so, and I was only aware of it from comic books, adverts in comic books. And then when it came on cable, I'm like, oh, I gotta check this out, right? And
HBO got it.
Yes.
Oh no! HBO just beat out Showtime.
Well, we had both for some time.
No, Showtime never got this thing. I would have snuck and watched it as a kid.
And I loved it. Great, just like Chris P is saying, great soundtrack. Which was what held it up from being able to be released for the longest time, was the rights on the music.
There were all kinds of rock bands in this. We'll get to it. We'll get to the album in a minute. But yeah, and I had a feeling the rights of this thing was tied up in music rights, per Hades or whatever. And
I think a big part of, wasn't it Journey too? Was like
Journey was in it, yeah.
And they the rights on their end too was a big deal. So
I know that eventually Sony buys Columbia, and Sony has a huge music catalog. I don't know if they had distribution rights to all the bands on that album, but they must have had a significant number of them to the point where this could get released. I never got to see this until I was 19. This was in 96, I believe, when it got a VHS re-release. A couple years prior, they had this on TNT of all channels late at night, and I was sneaking watching it. You think they're going to have all the good bits in there on TNT? No, they're cutting. This thing was getting cut to ribbons. But I was still watching because I was fascinated by this movie. What is heavy metal? Some of you may not even know what we're talking about. It is an animated anthology motion picture.
Yep.
All of the stories center around this green orb known as the Lochnar, which, as he tells us in the audience, he is the sum of all evils. Yeah. So like all the evils all across our universe, other multiverses, dimensions, he is just all of them combined into one object, sinister object. And this astronaut comes down from space in a convertible, because why not?
Yep.
And as he's burning up the atmosphere, he just
look. If you're gonna drive a car from space to Earth, make it a Corvette. Why not? Big Al, I'm glad you did. We were talking about that.
Friends. I wish I could have made it for that one. Yeah, you were on with him for Films with Friends.
Absolutely. So definitely, if you've got your own, you really should have your own copy of heavy metal. Cue it up, or whatever stream you use. And you can hear our commentary on Big Al Presents Films with Friends. And Mark Malnikoff is saying, greetings from the greetings Talaknan, which means humans, from the depths of the dilithium mines of Rurapente, on the penal asteroid Rurapente. Exactly.
It's weird. In one of the segments in this, you do see a damaged Enterprise flying out through like space wreckage, and you see it look like the USS Enterprise. They snuck in there.
I'm sure they did that as a little bit of an Easter egg.
Probably a nod. Yeah. There's the Lochnar though, and it corners this young girl in her house after basically disintegrating her father right in front of her, and says,
Yep.
"Before I kill you, look into me. I'll show you these stories of my evil." And the first one is Harry Canyon. That takes place.
The first one is The Fifth Element, is basically what that is.
Yeah, it takes place in the near future New York, where Harry Canyon. It's funny. I might have seen this around the time I saw The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
And he plays a cabbie in a future New York City. There's this great scene where some punk, pulls a gun on him in the back and says, "Give me all your money." And then he presses a button in the front of his cab, and a laser beam pops out of the back and disintegrates the.
Well, and you figure that, in future New York, you just have to, because you got to just expect that at this point.
Yeah, so he runs into a Dane whose father had unearthed the legendary Lochnar on some alien planet,
right?
And a bunch of aliens and human criminals want it, and so she goes to him for help. I'm not going to spoil anything else about this movie. You do get to see her what she's hiding under there. That's all.
You get. Let's face it. There's a whole lot of animated nudity. I mean, it is animated, kind. So I mean.
I'm sorry, man. This is like, I want to say this movie was a fantasy for preteen boys. This entire thing, like right when you're on the cusp of puberty, and you get to see this movie. This is an amazing. This has everything you want. It has boobs. It has guns. It has. Actually, I shouldn't use the word boobs. That's a crass term for breasticles.
Breasticles, yes. Breasticles.
Okay. Look at that, though. I love this. This whole thing looks like a comic strip brought to life, and it was based on a comic book magazine in France called Heavy Metal.
Yeah.
And National Lampoon brought this magazine over here, and they would translate it into comics. So a lot of these do have kind of a European feel to them. I would consider this a Canadian animated movie, and you get a lot of Canadian actors doing the voices, like John Candy.
John Candy, exactly.
Harold Ramis, I think, is in this too. I could be wrong, but yeah.
Oh yeah, no, Harold Ramis was in it. I think he plays one of the robots or little aliens in one of the last segments. Yeah.
Do you like that Jaws 7?
Yeah, Jaws 7, exactly.
Oh, if they only knew. Okay,
right.
Those are some of the horrible criminals.
That's true. We did back then. We did a lot of jokes about things being sequeled into the teens, right? Not realizing that eventually they would stop doing sequels and they'd start doing remakes over and over and over again.
Charlotte Nightstar the Werewolf, welcome.
Welcome, yes.
This Heavy Metal. Do you know what this is? I've heard some men say they would take their first date to see this movie and they never hear from her again. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a great test to find out, if she's the one. If she doesn't come back after that, okay, she wasn't the one.
I kind of see this as like maybe if a woman's trying to get you into the Twilight series, it's like it's not really made for. I don't know though. Maybe some women like this movie. I don't know. But
I mean, like Netter didn't mind it. She wasn't completely repulsed by it. So that's a good sign.
Look at that, though. We have
it looks just like John Candy, doesn't it?
It's funny, and he starts out as a shrimpy kid, and then he's doing some experiment with the meteor rock he finds, which is the Lochnar, and then he gets transported to this other world where he's this huge Conan-style guy. Muscles, no hair though, but that's fine. And he meets this nice young woman who says, "I also came from Earth. I was from the British colony of Gibraltar." She's saying with this British accent.
Yeah.
Now she was, on Earth I was very sickly, but here, like she's very buxom and whatnot. But then she gets kidnapped, and he goes on.
Well, it gives you the impression that without seeing her part of the story, that she had a very similar thing. She was just a female, very nerdy, sickly, maybe not, conventionally attractive, and now she's like, like him,
Look at that, though. The horrible monsters and whatnot. I've often said I have to at some point hunt down the comics that these were actually based on. These little, because these are based on some of the segments that were issued in Heavy Metal magazine.
Janice Zeal, welcome, by the way, makes a great point that the Twilight books don't really seem all that bad compared to some of the stuff we're starting to get now.
Oh, please. No, seriously. Yeah.
I mean, they're not great, but they're not, objectionable.
This is what is this? This is the Captain Stern segment. This is a fun little segment where this captain with a horrible reputation for doing murders and all sorts of other crimes is on trial, and he hires some guy to testify on his behalf, and then the guy goes nuts and wants to kill. You have to see it. It's a funny jury thing. This is a bit.
Reminds me a lot of the characters from like Zap Brannigan from
Yes.
Futurama. You know?
Kind of in the same vein, yeah.
Yeah.
Like almost a Star Trek style Captain Kirk type, but he's
absolutely evil. But
that's like denizens of the Federation behind him on the jury,
or even almost a little bit like who's that guy from The Boys? Captain
Homelander.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Not without the superpowers though.
But this is just a fun little comedic segment. And then we get this. There's a Skeets. Actually, that's not Skeets. I keep wanting to say it's the guy from Booster Gold, but
right. But he plays the basic same role, the same concept. Yeah.
This is a cool little World War II segment that involves zombies on a
World War II zombies. Exactly.
Yikes. So that's almost like an EC style comic segment of this.
So it's like the Lochnar was this comet, that's
it's the common thread in all these,
through a situation in World War II, planes going down, everyone on the plane that died becomes a zombie.
Yeah.
Which also could put heavy metal and the Lochnar in the same shared universe as the Night of the Living Dead, right? It could be the comet that made all the zombies come to life.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It was look, if I watched that original Night of the Living Dead, the government's talking about the Venus probe. It's the Venus probe. Of course, maybe the Lochnar did something to the Venus probe.
Right. Okay. Oh, and right. Chris P points out the Don Felder song during the World War II segment. That's right. Mm-hmm.
That's another heavy metal, the song with the words heavy metal in it. In fact, I don't know if any of the music in this could be considered metal. But it's still
it's not technically it's not technically heavy metal music, but it is rock and roll. Yeah.
But I'm sure heavy metal fans would still listen to it. I mean,
Sabbath, sure.
Black Sabbath is on this album. I mean, it's the Dio, the Black Sabbath Dio.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. So Beautiful, So Deadly, I believe is the title of this segment, which has a robot and some stoner aliens, and there's this and like there's this guy testifying before, I guess, the Congress or whatever, saying, look, this is just my constituents are turning green. They got arms growing on back. There's something up there in space, and the voters have right to know about it. Oh no, it's just some isolated phenomena. We are the only intelligent life in the universe, the scientist says. And then he goes nuts because he sees the Lochnar on a necklace on this hot secretary's neck, and then and then it turns out he's a robot, and then they have to beam them up into space, and then of course. The joke is, of course, there are other aliens in space. That's what this is. You have to see. Exactly. I'm describing things you should really just watch. But the robot makes a play for the typist lady, and gets lucky as
well. He proves to be fully functional.
What was funny is, I already have a boyfriend, and then and John Candy plays the robot, and he says, "What he does not know will not hurt him." And I'm like, "Oh, he doesn't use contractions because he's a robot."
Yes, exactly.
That was a thing on TNG when that's how Riker spotted the fake data because he used a contraction, and robots don't use contraction. Just funny. But this segment makes the least amount of sense as far as the Lochnar goes, because what does the Lochnar actually do in this segment? Who cares? Just go along for the ride. Then, of course, we get the big event, which is the Tarna segment.
Yep.
Who is this?
That's the book ending, right? Because big spoiler here, the little girl listens to all this stuff, and she ends up becoming the big warrior woman that
she ends up becoming like the next one. The next in this race.
Like in every generation, there's one, and
she's one of these heroes. Yeah, she's one of these. She comes from a legendary race of heroes, and the Lochnar infects a bunch of barbarian type men, and they all turn evil, and they go on a rampage and start murdering people on this strange world, and she has to stop them. And, look at that. You get to see her in her full beauty as well, and just almost like a female Clint Eastwood, I would argue this character is, if that makes any sense. She doesn't talk much. Love this movie. It is an animated movie unlike any that came before or really since.
Yeah.
Closest might have been that Rock and Roll movie, which was
Rock
an
and
anthology
Roll
piece. And it was more like PG than R-rated, but that's another good movie. Yeah.
That was one I have great memories of, because that one was talked about on a Nickelodeon show that
with Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy hosted. Yeah,
hosted that. I lost my DVD of that in the flood, and I'm waiting for it to get a re-release because it's now a rare Blu-ray and DVD. So hopefully it'll get a re-release. This
Mark
is why
says Rat would be an interesting cosplay.
Apparently,
Yeah.
Amazon now owns the studio that owned that and owns the rights. Amazon just released the darn thing. Put it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it as a limited edition or license it to somebody, please.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no 4K of it yet. But anyway, Heavy Metal you can still get. In fact, there was a 4K Blu-ray release of this, which also comes with the regular Blu-ray of Heavy Metal and a Blu-ray of the Heavy Metal 2000 movie they made.
There you go.
Which was okay, but I didn't like it as much as the original. Here we have the soundtrack, though. Look at this lineup. Look at this lineup. We have... I got to make this big. Hold on. We have Black Sabbath, Blue Oyster Cult, Cheap Trick, Devo, Don Fagen, Don Felder, Grand Funk Railroad, Sammy Hagar, Journey, Nazareth, Stevie Nicks, Riggs, Trust. This is an incredible lineup.
It sure is.
This does not contain. I've got this. I have the score that was written by Elmer Bernstein, who I believe wrote the score to the Ten Commandments. Which is funny when there's a joke when Den first shows up in the alien world and sees the woman about to be sacrificed, and he says, "Oh, this looks like something out of the Ten Commandments." You know? Yeah. It's a little in joke because, of course, the guy doing the score that you're hearing wrote the score to the Ten Commandments.
Right, exactly.
But, it's just I have this. I have a. I think I have the. I have the Black Sabbath. I'm eventually going to come up with a playlist that has all of the music tracks from the entire movie in the order that they show up in the movie on the playlist because I'm that obsessed with this. I have all the CDs because some of the music cues show up on other CDs. Like I think one of the Devo songs I had to get on a Best of Devo, which was Through Being Cool. It's not on the soundtrack. Instead, they're Working at a Coal Mine is on here.
Yeah.
Instead, because Devo had 2 songs for this. But yeah, just
what song did Stevie Nicks do on this one?
I can find out. Hold on.
Yeah, normally I wouldn't ask you to look it up, but I just,
Heavy
Stevie
Metal
Nicks,
soundtrack. It's on the tip of my tongue. I bought. It's funny. This thing, as I said, was not available on VHS. This was a big forbidden movie until finally in '96 they got the rights back to it, and they released it on VHS on a nice foil cover. I went down to the mall. I bought this, and I also got. I got this, and I also got the soundtrack CD, which was they made a big deal. 2 LPs on 1 CD. Yeah. Because I guess back then when this was released, it had to be on two records.
Right.
Let me see. Stevie Nicks. Give me a moment. Blue Lamp.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The other thing, the fact that, as you point out, it wasn't available on VHS. It made it seem, somehow like it was so taboo or whatever, like the nudity and whatnot that was not the big problem. The whole thing that held it up was the music rights, but that really lent itself to that mystique. This did go around in just like Rocky Horror did. There were bootleg VHSs at conventions for years. Until it was finally released. Well, until it came out on, I think still, once it came out on cable, people got better quality VHS copies they were selling. But then it got released on DVD eventually.
We were living in an age of kind of forbidden movies. Like Black Cauldron was another one that never got an official VHS release until around the time Heavy Metal came out. A couple years later, it finally got an American VHS release.
Yep.
But I do love this movie, though. I watched it over and over again when I got the videotape. I eventually, when it came out on DVD, got the DVD, and now have the Blu-ray.
Yep. This is what everyone keeps saying. You want to, just stop and destroy, pirating and stuff. See what people are pirating and put it out there and do it better. Put it out, upscaled, put it up with, DVD extras and stuff. People will pay for it.
Yes. Heavy Metal, Loud. This is the poster for the re-release. That's why I had the other poster at the beginning, because this is a play on the original poster. Louder and Nastier Than Ever. I do have a copy of this poster. It looks great with my poster of The Beyond, because it's funny, because both of those posters are for movies that were re-released I believe, in 96 of movies
Wow.
that were released in 1981. So it's a weird little thing they have in common. But big fan of this movie. I don't know if they'll ever do another one. They're always talking about it. I don't know how they could in our current moral age that we live in.
You know what?
Trust me.
It's just going to take a company that just doesn't give a flying frack and wants to make money. And they go, I don't care. Say what you want. We're putting this out and we're going to make money. Damn it.
Yeah, I mean, come on. What movie has beautiful naked women, lots of violence, aliens snorting cocaine? I mean, this is all you need, right? I mean, is she riding Flappy?
Honestly, this is, you know, this is why I keep saying the porn industry is making better movies now than mainstream Hollywood.
Anyway,
is she riding Flappy? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Now you put a thought in my head. Now I'm seeing Charlene Fenton. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
I can imagine that easily enough.
Oh man. Yeah, I could see a lot of the actresses on Twin Peaks in they did a live action version. That wouldn't be the same though. I do like the fact that you had.
Yeah, the animation was kind of what made it. You know.
Yeah, some of the sequences were rotoscoped. Tarna was a rotoscoped actress. They had a real actress underneath that. Yeah. Some of the segments were just because they had different teams doing the different segments. That's what was great about it being an anthology.
What was that movie with there was a movie I think with Keanu Reeves, I think, that was rotoscoped.
Scanner Darkly by Richard Linklater. I highly recommend it. Robert
Downey
Jr.'s in it.
I love that idea. That is just brilliant. There needs to be more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Richard Linklater, because at first he did the movie Waking Life, and then he did Scanner Darkly later on. And someone made an argument that he made a great-looking animated movie for a fraction of what Disney would do it for, because he was doing it rotoscoped and having people work on it on computers, but it looked great.
Yeah.
And, but...
Well, and let's be fair, the early Disney that everybody loved so much, guess what? That was all rotoscoped, too. It was just done with two-dimensional, you know...
And they
hand-drawn art, but it was still rotoscope.
They wanted to get the movements down, I think.
Yep.
I did want to say there was always a lot of talk over the years of them doing another anthology heavy metal movie. I know Robert Rodriguez was interested. James Cameron, of all people, is interested. I don't know if I want to say about this. I think David Fincher also was interested. Do you know who I think should get involved if they were ever to do another one of these? I think Trey Parker and Matt Stone, South Park guys.
Yeah, I can see that.
I could see them maybe supervising the project and animated one of the sequences, because they did an homage to heavy metal on South Park with Kenny in one of the heavy metal animated.
That's funny.
Segments. It was like something out of Tarna. You know, it was basically, but it was Kenny in there, and they did it in the same style. So I could maybe see those two working on something like this. But anyway, that's all. There's a great documentary on the DVD. I think it's also on the Blu-ray, where one of the guys being interviewed says, "You know, you're a young man, and you're saying tomorrow I have to grow up. I have to grow up, but that can wait till tomorrow. Tonight I'm going to watch heavy metal again."
There you go. Exactly right. Exactly right.
All right. This is our new logo. Okay, go ahead.
You've got to be old enough to watch the R-rated film, but young enough in spirit to be juvenile.
Let's be honest, teenagers always snuck and watched R-rated movies back in the 80s.
Yeah. I did.
And then we had the generation. Well, actually, I don't want to pick on people in the chat because I'm sure you're the exception to the rule. But I notice a trend with a lot of kids. Oh, my parents only let me watch Disney Channel, and I'm like, oh, this is why we're where we are at. You know,
exactly. That's exactly right.
Geeky Geezers. This is the new logo.
Yep. Looks good.
That may or may not look like me, but we'll just go with it. There we go. And there we go. We got Troy there. Look at that, huh?
Yeah, I think that works. Oh yeah. This one,
our first segment of the night.
Yeah.
This one's a rough one.
So we had done a good old days about the time tunnel, didn't we? I thought we did.
Yes. No, not the time tunnel. The other one, the one about the kid, you know.
Oh, Voyagers. Yeah,
We
yeah.
did Voyagers. We never did Time Tunnel. So let me know if you want to do that for a good old days. We can maybe do it next week.
Maybe in the near future. Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
I can talk about. I know what you're talking about. I've never seen it. But James Darren, actor from the Time Tunnel and Star Trek Deep Space Nine, singer and director, dies at age 88. James Darren, who went from teen idol status, acting in youth-oriented movies like Gidget, to becoming an actor in TV shows such as Star Trek Deep Space Nine and T.J. Hooker, and a singer and director, died Monday at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. He was 88.
Yeah.
His son, Jim Moritz, said that he had been able to express his love for his family while being treated in the cardiac unit. He was a good man. He was very talented, and Brett said he was forever young. Moritz said he was grateful that his father had been able to embrace his signature role as the surfer Moondoggy in the quote-unquote in the Gidget movie, and that he continued to interact with his fans. Born in Philadelphia, he studied acting with Stella Adler in New York and was signed to Columbia Pictures, where his first role was in Rumble on the Docks. He went on to appear in films such as Operation Madball and Gunman's Walk before being cast in the 1959 movie Gidget, starring Sandra Dee and Cliff Robertson. Darren also sang the title track for the hit movie, which was based on the experiences of a teenage surfer girl in Malibu and later became a popular TV series. The Gidget theme song launched a successful singer career for Darren, who had a gold record with Goodbye Cruel World in 1961 and released at least 14 albums. He continued to appear in feature films, including The Guns of Navarone, The Gene Krupa Story, All the Young Men, and Because They're Young. He reprised his role as Moondoggy in Gidget Goes Hawaiian, and again in Gidget Goes to Rome. Though he was tired of typecasting by then, moving to television, he starred in the series The Time Tunnel, and after a brief sojourn in Italy, appeared in Jess Franco's Venus in Furs, and went on to guest star in humorous series including Love American Style, Fantasy Island, and The Love Boat. Darren was a regular on T.J. Hooker from 1983 to 86, and also moved into TV directing, working on series including Beverly Hills 90210, Melrose Place. He also found a new generation of fans in 1998 as Vic Fontaine, the holographic lounge singer on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
He is survived by his
Vic
wife.
Fontaine. So here's real quick. I want to shout out this bit about Vic Fontaine. I love this. This is one of those great ways that Trek kind of blurs the line between reality and fiction, because the backstory is that Vic Fontaine is not a fictional character. He's actually playing a historic character, but in our world, a fictional historic character, because he talks about his time at the Sands Hotel performing with
he feels like a member of the Rat Pack, right?
Exactly. So he's a fictional member of the Rat Pack in the Star Trek universe, and I love that. In fact, he had a great story where his character was like front and center in the A plot because it had to do with
Nog.
No, I was going to say it had to do with because he's a holographic character, and holograms were an emerging AI in Star Trek, and so they were starting to, speak out for AI rights. And there was this great bit where he and a bunch of other holograms were, staging a little sit-in in Deep Space Nine and singing "We Will Overcome," and I'm like, wow, that's some good storytelling, good stuff. But and he put out an album kind of adjacent to his time on Deep Space Nine, but he has this great I don't know if it's a duet, if you'd really call it a duet, but
like
he
a
and Avery,
type of voice.
But he and Avery Brooks did The Best Is Yet to Come. Oh, it was good. The two of them, because they're both great singers.
I'm sure Avery Brooks must have had it in the background of musical theater at some point.
Oh yeah,
I know he did a lot of theater before Star Trek.
Yeah.
A lot of the Star Trek actors, they were big theater pros. I noticed. But I have to say, it was funny though, because I remember Nog, I think, was in the Hollow Suite, and he was stuck. He didn't want to leave because I guess he was traumatized by something he saw in the real world. So he was spending all his time basically running the hotel that this guy was at, the casino.
Right.
Which was interesting because You would imagine people in Vegas and Ferengi would have a lot in common, actually.
Probably.
On some level.
Probably, yeah. Exactly.
The Guns of Navarone. Oh, interesting.
Yes.
It's funny that they mentioned Gidget. Do you know who Roger Ebert compared to Gidget? Naomi Watts.
Really?
When he saw Mulholland Drive, he was compounding on her characterization. Reminds me of Gidget. That's what he said.
Yeah, somehow I can't see Sally Fields in Mulholland Drive. Oh, that wasn't Sally Fields. That was
Sandra Dee.
Sandra Dee. Right.
I think that's the point. Her character in Mulholland Drive, when you first see her, isn't it like a Sandra Dee type of character?
Oh,
she's kind of naive and all that.
Yeah,
when you first see her, she's all giddy and it's all But good evening, guys. Welcome, Joshua V. But rest in peace, James Darren. His work lives on. Check out that album too. Why does that remind me of Breaking Bad? Are you referring to our new logo? Probably
yes.
Because Jesse had the facial hair, whereas Walter White was bald because of the chemo. Remember, of course, he had a beard as well. Yeah,
he did.
So good old Walter White.
I'll tell you what, I've known a lot of guys that have hit with the big C, that have gone through the chemo, lost their hair, and when it starts to come back, they're like, you know what? I kind of like the bald. I'm just going to stick with that.
Yeah, some people do that. Like, you know who did that? The guy who played Ramses in Ten Commandments.
Yul Brynner,
King and I. Yeah, he had to shave his head for that role, and he liked it so much he stuck with it. After that, yeah. But rest in peace, James Darren.
Absolutely.
Tech tycoon Larry Ellison will control Paramount Global after Skydance deal closes.
Yeah, and what does this mean for Star Trek? Probably nothing.
Yeah.
Probably nothing.
Just looking at him doesn't fill me with confidence, I'll be honest with you. For starters, he's a tech guy, and I've heard a lot of the problem with Hollywood and even the game industry is they're treating all this stuff like tech startups. These are art forms. Leave it be. Larry Ellison, the mega billionaire founder of Oracle, will be the majority shareholder of National Amusements, Inc., the company that controls Paramount Global, after the expected closing of the deal with Skydance Media, led by his son, David Ellison, next year, according to a regulatory filing. Mm-hmm. It was under that Larry Ellison would obtain a majority stake in NIA, but now there's official confirmation he will own 77.5% of National Amusements through Pinnacle Media, a group of three ventures formed as Paramount, according to an FCC filing available at this link. The remaining 22.5% of NAI will be owned by Jerry Cardinal, head of private equity firm Redbird Capital Partners, which teamed with Skydance and the Ellisons on the NA Paramount deal. The filing also reveals that Ellison and Redbird agreed to loan up to $277 million to NAI. During the period prior to the deal closing, National Amusements is permitted to make one loan request during that time. Yeah, Redbird was a friend of Flappy's, but he wanted to go into the business side where Flappy wanted to pursue his dream of acting, so they parted ways.
I don't blame him. I get it,
Okay. The FCC filing disclosing the owners. It's a Twin Peaks joke for those of you who don't turn into Sparkwood in 21, which you should
every
be.
Tuesday.
Yes. The FCC filing disclosing ownership stakes NAI was required to the transaction involves the transfer of CBS's 28 owned operated local TV stations. So, okay. All right. Okay. He runs it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. The company last month said it's cutting 50% of its U.S. workforce and eliminating about 2,000 jobs through the end of 2024 as part of efforts to slash $500 million in yearly costs. Yeah. Oh, that's ironic that they have to slash $500 million.
Yeah.
That's a good transfer point over into
this
one. Oh no.
I know.
Shari Redstone.
This is what I've said about these things. These people, and especially as we look at these corporate executives, and we say, they're pushing these woke agendas and blah 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 bullshit. All they care about is, thank you. All they care about is money and their golden parachutes, and they don't really give a flying F. And there's been so much talk about Shari Redstone and her father's legacy and blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. She wants out with as much money as she possibly can.
Shari Redstone, chair of Paramount Global, will get $180 million in severance and other benefits on top of hundreds of millions from the sale of her stock to the group led by filmmaker David Ellison. People with knowledge of the matter said the Ellison family and its partner Redbird Capital Partners are paying $1.75 billion to acquire the equity of National Amusements, the Redstone family company that owns most of the voting stack on Paramount. The parent company, CBS and MTV, Redstone owns 20% stake in National Amusements through 2 trusts in her name and is in line to receive about $350 million from the sale. The Ellison Group will also pay all obligations that include a $70 million severance package for Redstone and an unfunded pension liability of $110 million as part of the National Amusements acquisition, said the people who asked not to be identified, discussing non-public information. Ellison is leading, so we're not even supposed to know this is happening. Ellison is leading group of investors poised to acquire a majority control Paramount, a major film and TV company, for more than $8 billion. The group is paying $2.4 billion to National Amusements, including the liabilities, according to public reported details of the agreement. All right, so yeah. I don't know. As a recovering Star Trek fan, I'm not holding breath over this Paramount.
Yeah, no. Even if anyone there wanted to do anything with it, it would be a long time before that happened. There's too many things in the hopper right now, but this is hardly their focus. The fans are focused on Star Trek when they think about the Paramount deal. The people involved in the Paramount deal are barely thinking of Star Trek, if at all.
Meanwhile, a good deal of their workforce is going to lose their jobs, too.
Mm-hmm.
They tank all their IPs, insult the fans, push their agendas, and run off with bags of money under their arm. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. And then a bunch of their probably workers who were just doing the behind-the-scenes stuff are now going to get let go.
Which is so...
The writers I don't care as much about because some of them deserve to lose their jobs.
It is really so short-sighted because if you have control of a money machine, make as much money as you can, and make it so that it continues to be a money-making machine for the future.
Okay, listen to me. Did you ever see Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Yeah.
And what was it? What is Baruch Assault, right? If I'm getting her name right. Says, I want it now.
Yeah.
I want it now. I'll kill the golden goose and get as many of the eggs now and screw the future. I got mine.
Yeah. And we all know the story of the golden goose. You kill the golden goose and you end up with nothing.
What the heck?
Now or ever.
Have at this point. They have Top Gun.
Yeah.
They still have that. They have Maverick. That's incumbent upon Tom Cruise, though.
Exactly.
What else do they have?
If they start compromising it, they lose that too.
Mission Impossible, I think it's on its last legs. Because that last movie, it did okay, but it didn't do what they wanted it to. It was over budget, and they have to get that part 2 out, and they waited to release the part 2. It might have been because of those strikes, but I think all momentum it would have had is now gone they're trying to pretend it's not a part 2, which it is.
Yeah.
It was a part 1 of 2. You didn't buy the game.
But did they film them together? I mean, in other words, is the budget real low now as a result?
Dark Woods presents Welcome. Don't think I've seen you here before. Welcome. You didn't buy the game and you put the developers out of work. We'll get to that. We'll get to it.
We're getting there, yeah. Exactly.
That's next. Well, we're to it now.
Yeah, we're there. So,
you have anything left to say about Paramount?
No.
You looking forward to it? The future of Star Trek, maybe?
No. I'm checked out, and I've said this about other things too. Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, all of it. I couldn't care less. Maybe I'll come back if anything ever gets good again, but I'm not holding my breath for that.
I've already looked for the signal. I don't care what Disney says. Oh, we're going to make it better, even if they decide that admit they've done wrong and they're going to try and go in a different direction now. The one thing they can do, though, that would be a nice signal is we're going to release the theatrical trilogy of the original Star Wars trilogy. Re-release in theaters too, but also put it on DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. Just put it on everything.
Yeah,
and let us have those
point,
original versions.
Unless they acquiesce to anything that Gina Carano wants, give her her own show and fire Dave Filoni, forget it. I'm out.
Okay. PlayStation officially shuts down Concord, goes offline, and refunds all customers. I will give PlayStation points. If something goes horribly wrong, they will refund. This happened with that Cyberpunk game that came out. They offered refunds and took it off their store, and that wasn't even their game.
Yeah.
But here we are. Concord officially shut down. Let me go ahead and read from this.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation officially shuts down Concord. It's official. We have triumphed. Oh, this is from Smash JT. So this is the comments of Smash JT do not necessarily represent the comments of the Geeky Geezers. And Troy's about to say it does mine.
I was just going to say, yeah, probably it does mine, but
okay. But we'll read from his thing. It's official. We have triumphed in a way, and honestly, no one could have seen coming. And Sony, along with Fireworks Studios, has hopefully learned a valuable lesson in what's shaping up to be one of the most unprecedented flops in gaming history. Concord has been pulled offline and will no longer be sold, with refunds being offered to everyone who purchased the game, with losses reportedly sowing well over $200 million. This has become a historical disaster in the video game industry. Following a launch, there was met with widespread criticism and disappointment. Developers behind Concord have issued an apology to the community. Concord fans, we've been listening closely to your feedback since the launch of PlayStation 5 and PC and want to thank everyone who has joined the journey aboard at the North Star. But despite their thanks, the reality is clear. The game's initial release didn't land that way as they had hoped. As a result, Concord will be taking offline starting September 6th. 2024, while developers explore options for the game's future, cost of failure, and a unprecedented refund policy. The announcement of Concord going offline is accompanied by a significant move, and one that I can't recall ever happening before. It did happen before. It happened with Cyberpunk, Smash JT. It wasn't Sony's game, but they were very angry about how that was released, and they offered you the option of getting a refund. That's what they did, and they took it off their store. Players who bought the game via PlayStation 2 or PlayStation Direct will see refunds returned to their original payment methods within 36 days. Oh, in this case, they're just doing it automatically.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen originally. Refunds will also be available through Steam and Epic Games Store, and customers who purchase physical copies will need to follow the refund procedures at the respective retailers. So you can just bring your physical game to the retailer and say, I want my money back.
And I'll tell you,
doesn't matter if it's unwrapped.
Well, right. I will tell you this. We always give the disclaimer. We don't give financial advice, investment advice, blah, blah, blah. But one thing I will tell you, you really should consider, don't ever pre-order games ever. Don't do it. It's not worth it. You don't get any benefit from it. And
pre-order bonus.
You're likely to lose out in some way, shape, or form.
And
what's going to end up happening is
an exclusive skin.
Oh no, you get to play it before anybody else, but it's broken and you can't play it until we do the first patch. So in other words, there's no benefit to having prepaid.
I would argue that companies that have good reputations, you can, if you really want the game on day one. Like Nintendo usually does good. To be fair, Sony, at least I'm not even a huge Sony fan, but usually the Sony fans are usually
you make
happy with
a good
product.
Point there.
Maybe that's why Sony is afraid, because they're like, people pre-ordered this and it turned out to be a lemon, so we got a refund. If
you have a good reputation, okay, just don't lose that reputation, because once it's lost, you're effed.
I give them credit though for doing this though. They did recognize that, okay, this was a screw up. I think,
although I do feel like it's the right thing to do. I mean, we're kind of applauding them for doing what should be expected. I got handed a bill of goods. I'm getting my money back. I shouldn't have to, hold this up as some kind of big, wonderful thing. Concord's game's biggest problem is it's an inferior knockoff of Overwatch and should have been free to play. Yeah, that's not wrong. And Matanui makes an interesting point. So most of the money goes to the publishers, I think. And he gives the qualification. He's not positive about that. He's more or less speculating. Yeah, perhaps.
I mean, Sony is the publisher in this case, though, right?
I actually don't know. Yeah. I had not heard about this Concord, and apparently a lot of
it was on Steam. You could have bought it. You're part of the problem.
Yeah, well, it's my fault because I didn't know about this thing or care
No,
about it, right?
no, it's your fault. You're a look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is not how you respond. Like I saw that apology letter in the Smash JD thing, and then one of the developers stuck this up on there.
Yeah.
You can read this on the Steam page. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Does your day feel a little bit better knowing that a great developer comprised of hardworking folks is going to likely be shut down over this? I want to say something. I've had development studios that I loved get shut down for dumb reasons.
Yeah.
Factor 5, the makers of a lot of great Lucasfilm games like Star Wars Rogue One and that series, they went under, and they were a great development team. And I think they made one mistake in a game. I think it was a PS3 launch game that didn't turn out so well, where you run a dragon. They didn't do what they normally did, which would usually be a Star Wars game. But they went under, and I'm like, no one seems to cry over them, but now I'm supposed to cry over this.
And here's the other thing too. There are tons of companies where hardworking people lose their jobs all the time because higher ups are morons that make bad decisions, bad business decisions, and destroy their business model. Bud Light, anybody? I'm sure there are people working in breweries and certainly in distribution that were hardworking, good people, and they're all out of work because some moron decided, oh, let's go all in on this.
I hope one enterprising young brewer decides, I'm going to come up with my own beer. Why don't you all go work for me?
You know what? All of the other beer companies started picking up the slack. Everyone else's businesses improved when they started to lose market share. So yeah, you can. This is what happens. Your company goes bankrupt. You go work for another company. If someone says to you, "Well, you can't work for our competition. You signed a non-compete." Yeah, take me to court. Those don't hold up in court.
Yeah,
I have a right to work.
I think they did two wrong things. Number one, they made another arena death match. They made characters no one wanted with abilities that were hard to use or understand. They wanted to spread a woke message. Yeah, Smash JT goes on to mention DEI agenda. I think too the main thing though is that it's too much like other games of this type, of which there's already a dedicated base for. It's funny. I think I had Asmongold on earlier, and he was doing a rewatch of some other YouTuber where he was showing how he would change the character designs. Mm-hmm. And all of these hideous characters, he now made them attractive characters that you would want to play as. And it's not even just how they look like the characters for themselves look. He also changed their outfits. Like he said, like, look at this young lady with the big shoulders. Well, you can do that, but then you have to undercut the actual jacket to make it shorter, to make up for the fact. And he's right. Aesthetically, it looked fine, even though it had the bigger shoulders, because he did something underneath. That's who they should be hiring over at the studio. And the studio still exists.
One thing that Smash JT, of course, is reporting this right. He's focusing on the actual problems with the game.
Yes.
But if you want to, respond to the, istophobe bull crap, there's only two possibilities, right? One is that all of your clientele, every person that could possibly be interested in your game is an istophobe, in which case get out of the business if you don't want to sell to them.
Yeah, don't yell at your own customer base and start calling gamers and istophobes, because the istophobes didn't buy my game.
If you want to be profitable and you don't want to sell to, if you think 99% of your clientele is these bad people, then you need to just go out of business, because that is your business. The other option is that these istophobes are a small minority. Where the hell are all your people that aren't istophobes in your mind? Why didn't they buy your game?
Look,
it doesn't hold up.
I was making a mental note that it's like in the old days, if you criticize whatever crappy pop culture thing out now, you were an istophobe. Now, if you just don't buy it or give it the money, now you're also an istophobe. They're making up new. They fail and they keep blaming everyone but themselves.
The important thing to remember, though, for all of us is if you are the target of them calling you names, you have to care as little about that as you did about the game that you didn't buy, and just say screw it and don't give them.
Yeah, I think that's where people are. It's not even about getting angry. I think it's just apathetic. I'll just walk away. I can do other things.
Well, why do you not cry wolf unless there's a wolf? Yeah. Because eventually there will be a wolf and no one's going to believe you. Same thing here. Oh, it's the faux blah 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 whatever. Okay, you know, I'm a National Socialist too, right? Okay, that means nothing anymore. Those words no longer have any meaning.
Yeah. Where's this modern audience? It's a myth that doesn't exist. Yeah. People just want to play good games, and the guy making a point when he's changing the character designs. No one cares if your cast is diverse. They just care if the characters are cool and compelling. That's what the problem was.
And welcome, Jesse Green. Good to see you, my friend.
I won't even tell you what I heard one of the characters was based on, but anyway, hello, Jesse Green. Welcome. So let's move on.
I could always play RDR 2 again. Yeah, absolutely. This is why we do the good old days, to talk about other options that we have, right?
Look at this. Star Wars Outlaws.
Got to learn how to copy and paste right. There we go.
Take your time.
Yep.
But was anybody going to buy Concord here? Did anybody know it existed? I want easy jobs like in offices without labor-intensive work, as if no one else has ever had to do labor-intensive work. You get developers at the place. They think that's what everybody else had. They have this myth about what all like being a gaming programmer, where it's one of the hardest jobs you can have.
Yeah,
these talk about crunch, and I don't even necessarily agree with some of those practices. I don't know. Oh, wait, are you talking about this game, Jesse Garhardo? Star Wars Outlaws. I don't know. Some people like it. They say you have to stick with it past like 6 hours and it gets better. Anyway,
that's not a great selling point.
Star Wars Outlaws may have reviewed okay enough, but it may not have sold enough. If Ubisoft's recently stock decline is any indication, Ubisoft shares are now down 13.5% in the wake of the launch of Star Wars Outlaws, which analysts say has failed to meet sales targets. The game was officially released on August 30th, which is when the sharp decline started, part of a larger overall decline of 43% this past year. Reuters reports J.P. Morgan and Daniel Kervin saying that Star Wars Outlaws has struggled to meet our sales expectations despite positive critical reviews, and lowered sales expectations from 7.5 million units down to 5.5 million units from the current fiscal year. The hope was clearly that this big budget first ever open world Star Wars game would be a huge boon to Ubisoft.
No, wait a minute. Pause right there. Open world Star Wars game. Looking at this little, crop of the cover.
Yeah.
Would you know this was Star Wars if you didn't know what we were talking about?
No.
There's nothing about this that says Star Wars.
No.
This is generic sci-fi.
It maybe has Star Wars on the title, but taken it by the picture itself, no, I don't. It doesn't.
Yeah,
look like
Star Wars exactly right.
Oh, Star Wars Outlaws had $150 per order for the Ultimate Edition. The Ultimate Edition include like a TIE fighter in the background, so you know it was Star Wars.
Yeah, good.
Because it takes place between Empire and Jedi. So, in fact, Darth Vader is in the game apparently in some scenes.
Oh, jeez.
So, different guy voicing him, but anyway, let's move on. Again, Star Wars Outlaws reviewed fine, even positively. A 76 meta score is generally viewed as good in the grand scheme of the gaming industry, if not trending toward an average in the world of AAA releases. But that's in the bottom half of Ubisoft's franchise catalog over the last 10 years, and for some, it's just not the Star Wars game they wanted. Disclaimer, myself included, who set it down after feeling few too many hours of awkward stealth. There are also reports that Ubisoft's would-be large-scale PvP shooter X-Defiant is bleeding players, going from an Ubisoft record of 1 million uniques to 8 million total in the first week, down to reported 20,000 concurrent players on all platforms. That's a disaster. It's not Concord level bad, but this is the same week that saw the complete and total shutdown of PvP shooter Concord. I think PvP shooters, the market is dying on this, or at least maybe it's saturated. Maybe that's what it is. Ubisoft has one last card to play in 2024, the release of Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Which Nate is saying, after Assassin's Creed Shadows comes out, I might just buy Ubisoft because the stock will be worth $2.
It will probably be
so and Jesse points out, he says the battle droids is a commando droid from the Clone Wars. I'm sorry. Now that you say that, I kind of, if I squint,
is that from the cartoon show?
Twist my eyes a little bit, I can kind of see that. But it looks like he's got this squat head. It doesn't say battle droid to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't see Roger there,
Well, maybe there were other droids. I mean, there was a ton of crap in Revenge of the Sith. Maybe he was in the background.
Yeah, the point is that if this is from some, background shot or some, extraneous EU type of thing, most people are going to do like me and go, I don't see Star Wars here. Yeah.
Maybe if that had been an Ewok on her shoulder or something.
But I think Darkwoods makes the best point, goes right to the heart of the matter. There are several game-breaking glitches in Outlaws. There is nothing that pisses gamers off more than I can't play this fucking game because it's glitched to shit.
There were a lot different of them. Okay. I don't know. Troy, the commando droid is different from the standard B1 battle droid. Yes.
Well, so that's fine, but I where would I have seen these guys before? Where are these commando droids from?
Oh, they were the cartoons. They were from the cartoons.
Okay, so I had to watch some what I consider non-canon, streaming only thing to even know about.
Well, Clone Wars was on regular TV.
Was it? Okay.
Before the final season.
Admittedly, I've seen most of Clone Wars, but I don't remember these little details like this. And if this is what you're banking on for this to look like Star Wars, keep in mind, you guys are all like the super fans of the prequel era and whatnot. If you're just a casual gamer, casual Star Wars fan, this ain't going to pull you in.
Well, yeah, but this is supposed to be original trilogy era.
And I never watched Bad Batch. I have no interest in Bad Batch.
Yes.
I've become less and less interested in anything Dave Filoni has had to do with Star Wars.
The actress made ugly as a woke nut. Yeah, the actress they based her on is a good looking lady. I don't know why they didn't just use her actual
likeness. Game. Yeah.
But apparently, yeah, she was going a little. She was attacking the fans recently. That was another thing, which I don't know. She was hoping they were going to do a Disney Plus series out of this game or something. I remember she was talking about.
Well, after what they did with Ahsoka, like giving live action roles to all the cartoon characters, everybody is thinking, oh, if I can get be a cartoon character, I can become live action. That's the Disney way, right?
Most games have day one patch. Yes, they do. I love Clone Wars. A lot of people do. I'm not picking on it.
I certainly like the earlier Clone Wars. I've always said that that cartoon series filled in the story that we didn't get in the movies. The movies were insufficient to convey the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
but
you said it showed that Anakin had a lot of PTSD from that. Wasn't that? Yeah. Was that brought up on the show?
Yeah, and I think that's great character development. Yeah. I think you could have completely done away with the whole first movie, the whole Phantom Menace thing, and it should have started
with him, as an adult or young adult,
as a Padawan already, And if you want to drop a line or two about his history as a slave and any of that, fine, do that. But we could have gotten 3 whole movies with a full character arc for this guy. And no, and more of the elements that we saw in the cartoon series.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Why? Am I not coming through? Let me check StreamYard. What's going on? I can see me. I'm blinking just fine. Say something else, Boomer. Boomer, can you not hear me? I think we're about to lose Boomer. I think that's what's going to happen.
I hear you. I heard Boomer, then he cut out.
Boomer fell out. That happens. Let me...
Because, Florida.
Because Florida? Okay. How do I don't want to be focused like this. Oh, I'll just bring him back in. That does it.
The point is, those Star Wars games usually... Oh, he hears both. I guess, I don't know, something was... Oh, whoa.
No, I'm trying to figure out how we were before.
Present. I got to put the slides in.
Oh, you got to present. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
That's why it's all.
All right. I messed everything up. It's okay. I couldn't hear Troy anymore, so I thought maybe I'd lost internet. Hold on.
And enjoy all these scenes from the stream
Heavy
that you've
metal.
seen up to this point.
Heavy metal, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Heavy metal, and in
Shari
Remembrance
Redstone.
and Paramount, and
there we go. Yeah, I guess
go.
we're pretty much done with the Star Wars thing. I'm saying,
Geeky Geezers.
Yes.
My advice to y'all: go pick up the Star Wars Dark Forces remaster. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Very nice. You know what I thought was interesting about the Dark Forces remaster? How you set up a credible villain in those cutscenes. How the guy, Darth Vader's like, he made this new, I guess, the Dark Trooper, and he's like, you had better hope so, or the Emperor will be displeased. He says something like that about his new thing, and then he gives Lord Vader a demonstration, and he sends one of the Dark Troopers down. A few of the Dark Troopers down, and they totally like mess up an entire city on the surface, and quell a rebellion. And then Lord Vader says, "The Emperor will be pleased. Thank you, Lord Vader." And basically, the whole point of that scene is, though, if this guy is even on some level won Vader's respect, this is going to be a credible villain for your main character to fight till at the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
That was the point of that scene. So, well, R.I.P. Star Wars. You can still enjoy the old stuff, and like I said, Dark Forces. Check out the Dark Forces remastered. Right.
They really are going to have to start decanonizing this Disney crap and start recanonizing.
Well, Dark Forces remastered isn't canon because your first mission is to steal the plans of the Death Star, which is basically Rogue One.
Yeah, kind of. Right.
Except he does it very easily. He just goes in there and kills a bunch of Imperials and takes the plans. James Bond's franchise director choices. Here's who tops the list. Yay. I'm so excited and I just can't hide it. See, for some of you, it's what they've done to Star Wars. For me, it's what they've done to Bond.
Yeah.
Of course, I could argue James Bond, he's a literary character. You can still go back to the books, much like with Lord of the Rings. There's still
which we have. We've gone out of our way to make sure we have.
I made sure I
had
the uncut version. Yes.
Yeah.
Because, this is a British man living in the 50s.
David Pensack says, didn't the last Bond film go through several directors before the final one? Yeah.
They originally wanted Guy Ritchie, and he might have made it interesting movies. He was going to have Bond get Me Too'd, but I guess maybe the producer didn't like that idea. Because I guess maybe he would have thrown shade on the Me Too.
So instead of him getting Me Too'd, he gets cucked. And killed.
Well, I don't know about that, but yeah, it was very. Oh, this last movie. Eventually, we're going to do the second stream with Retro Blasting about the latter half of the Bond films. We'll get into this on that stream on Troy's channel on No Time to Die. Oh boy, yeah. But I guess they're going to do another. They're going to reboot again, unless they're going to set this in the Brosnan timeline, because. I don't want to think about it. EM Productions, the studio behind the James Bond franchise, is reportedly close to finding the right director to bring the iconic adventures of 007 back to the big screen following Daniel Craig's departure in 2021's No Time to Die. Yeah, that's one way of putting it, his departure in No Time to Die. While much speculation has focused on who will be cast as Bond, the filmmaker chosen to helm is equally important and will indicate the kind of approach, comedic, action-based, gritty the studio will take as their beloved franchise heads into its latest era. Is it me, or are they overthinking too much? It used to be they would just hire a competent action movie director and just it's exotic locales, super villain, beautiful women. That's your Bond movie.
If you can find someone that actually understands that. See, that's part of the problem. Curtis says, I still want Henry Cavill, but I'm sure we won't get him.
No, we're not gonna get him.
At this point, it's not even about who plays James Bond. We got to see who's going to be writing and directing.
Well, who plays is important too, but
that's true. But that comes later.
I'm not sure if I like who the favorite is right now, but people tell me that I should give him a chance. But
Dark Woods isn't wrong. I predict the next James Bond will be a lesbian, non-binary member of ISIS. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, they did say that it will be played. I think they're going to stick with making him a male actor. I don't know how far off the reservation. My worry is it's going to be about how the producer of the series says, well, men have evolved, and we're going to try to cater that. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Barbara Broccoli should take her father's advice and don't mess with Bond. Keep what's works. Yes. Okay, I'll read the article a bit. A bit more. Let me see. According to Telegraph, Eon has started meeting with potential directors. With Academy Award winner Edward Berger, best known for 2022's All Quiet on the Western Front, at the top of the list. Interestingly, he has also been tapped for the next installment of the Bourne franchise, suggesting the studio is looking to follow in the footsteps of the amnesiac assassin.
Yeah,
as they did with the Daniel Craig-led reboot. Yes, they got embarrassed by Die Another Day. And I think when they started with Daniel Craig, they were wanting to make it more like a Jason Bourne-style spy movie. While many long for a James Bond movie helmed by Christopher Nolan, the report claims that the studio is instead looking for another Martin Campbell, who successfully rebooted Bond in 2006's Casino Royale. They want a competent director who they can control what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than an incompetent director that they controlled the last movie. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't like No Time to Die. Anyway, in other words, they are seeking a safe and seasoned pair of hands without the sort of distinctive personal style that would impinge on Bond's own. That's why they didn't use Quentin Tarantino to do Casino Royale, because he's the one that pitched that idea. Other names being discussed alongside Berger include screenwriter Kelly Marcel, known for writing 50 Shades of Grey and the Venom movies.
Oh, those are genius.
Oh boy.
You know, I mean, that's a CV right there. I mean,
is he going to take a sip of the Vesper Martini and say it's Vesper time and throw it down?
Yeah, exactly.
And just filmmakers David McCode, Bart Langton, and Jan Damage have also been mentioned and would make interesting choices for the next Bond saga and suggest the studio would continue a grounded and gritty approach. Why don't they get the guy that's been doing the John Wick movies? Wouldn't that make sense?
That would make absolute sense. You know, here's the other thing. You said something that got me thinking. I think most fans are saying it would be nice if they would just go back, reboot from the beginning, but set it during the Cold War, right? Yeah. But you just made a brilliant idea. What if they were to go back and just continue the Pierce Brosnan era? Just assume that everything before that was canon too.
I don't want them to do that. Because they're going to have old man Pierce Brosnan show up and he's going to get killed in a horrible fashion. I give the name Bond.
Yeah, no.
I don't want them doing that. I don't want them messing with that
here's how they do it.
The only thing I can say about the Daniel Craig era is at least it's self-contained. It doesn't tie into the other Bond.
What they do is they cast a new James Bond, a young guy, right? Yeah. And you have the story be where he's got to take on a new agent as a protege.
What?
And throughout the story, he explains in just a few lines here and there, there was this time that this happened, this time that happened, and basically lay out the canon of all the previous James Bond films.
Right.
All the Bond fans are going to go, I know what they're talking about. Yeah. And all the new people will be all caught up.
Okay. Oh, you mean him playing James Bond tells what he's done before?
Yes. Well, this was like the time that I got married and my wife got killed, and
they used to do that. Even going up to Roger Moore, and they would do it subtly. They would say stuff like when the Russian agent goes up to Bond and says, "Oh, I know that you like your martini shaken, not stirred. License to Kill has done so on many occasions. Many women, but only married once." And then he says, "Stop talking." And she's like, "Oh, you're sensitive about some things." Yes, he didn't.
Yeah, that was a great line. Actually.
Yes.
Real quick, I want to say hi if he's still here to DJ Play Nice, who's just stopping by to bump the algorithm. Thank you so much.
Thank you, DJ Play Nice. Where are you? I'll see if I can nick you up there. Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Stopping by to say have a fantastic weekend. Mm-hmm. I know they are dragging their feet on this Bond film. I can only say that maybe they're trying to make sure they can go in it for the long haul and get back to doing them. They used to do a Bond movie every 2 or 3 years, and now it's like
there is wisdom to that, and I'm not saying that they have to put this much time in between each movie. They can get themselves back to a 2 to 3 year span, but they've got to get the first one right. They've got to get their trajectory on correctly. You know,
Look, I have no problem with them redoing some of the Bond stories. Well, I thought they were going to do that with the Craig era when they did Casino Royale. Oh, they're going to start over and do the novels again and maybe be closer to the books. No.
that would have been nice. That would have been nice. I'll tell you what. And look, Hollywood, you guys are all lazy fucks. So just pick up the books and turn them into screenplays and do them exactly the way the books say.
I would like to see. Well, they can't do Moonraker though, because they did Moonraker once and it was completely different, and they can't do Moonraker now because the big reveal of the villain wouldn't make sense in a modern sense unless they were setting it in period, like you were saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how they should do it.
Anyway, Aaron Taylor. Yeah, okay. They go on to say Aaron Taylor Johnson is the favorite to play him. He's the one that played Kick-Ass in the movie Kick-Ass. Remember the nerdy guy that becomes the superhero? You know that movie? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about those two. With the likes of Taylor Johnson, Henry Cavill, often favored by bookies, the final choice. They're not going to cast Cavill. We want Cavill. That's why they're not going to cast him.
Exactly. But
let's
actually,
be honest here. Cavill literally is the man that women want and that men want to be. Right?
Well, I mean, that is true. The other thing, too, is the longer it takes, the more this is going to start looking like Never Say Never Again if they cast Cavill.
Yeah, it is. He was always. The books start out. He's in his 30s already. He's not a young guy. They
Right.
did explain how he got his 00 status. It was during the war. It was by killing a Vichy French, which was a Frenchman working for the Germans during World War II, right?
Yeah.
And then it was I think someone working for Japan in New York City. Those are the
Actually,
two people.
you know, if they were to reboot in period,
and set it in World War II.
No.
Do like the first kills. That'd be interesting.
No. Well, it would be interesting, but no, I don't think you should do that because that gets into way prequel. No, I think they should start it out with whatever Casino Royale or whatever, right? But have the opening montage be scenes from that early life.
It'd be interesting,
right?
Oh man, I loved the book Dr. No. I'm reading the books because I started reading the Bond books because I'm worried we're never going to get decent Bond movies again.
That's for sure.
There is apparently a Bond video game in the works, and I hope whoever's doing it, guys, if you treat this and make this its own universe, not shared with the movies, and just do your own thing, you might have something on your hands akin to like those Batman Arkham games or those. Or
That's
something
true.
else.
That's a great point.
I mean, heck, you could make Dr. No, the book Dr. No, into a survival horror game.
The other thing I want to say is Hollywood better get their heads out of their asses and start making good stuff because we are quickly approaching the point where with AI art and AI voices and all this kind of stuff, fans are going to start making their own stuff. They're going to just take the books, plug them into AI, and say, turn this into a movie. Exactly.
I keep watching those 50s Panavision things.
Right? Exactly. They're not quite there, but they're getting close.
Yeah. I don't know. I forgot what I saw.
Jesse says they're too lazy to read. Yeah, that's you're absolutely right.
The director of the last
But you know what? Like I said, just feed them into the AI and let the AI spit out the script.
You had the Largo character in the last movie. He had a bionic eye. That's not James Bond. We don't have bionic eyes right now. I'm more to the pity of many who can't see.
True.
I wish we did, but anyway,
that was. I think we talked about this when we talked about the good old days about the $6 Million Man, when people would ask Lee Majors, hey, how can I get a bionic arm, bionic leg? And these were people that, amputees or whatever. And he's like, we're really working on the technology. We really, really are. This is fiction, but we're working on it,
Okay, well, I'm glad they are, and I hope they make it a thing one day. I do love Darkwood's comments. I'm just gonna say on it, you know what? I've started watching that show Fallout. We'll all be just fine.
Yeah.
Roaches
Yeah.
so big you can eat them. Come on.
Right.
Or it'll
Just
be like
remember, just hold up your thumb, and as long as it's not bigger than your thumb, you're going to be okay.
Or it'll be like that Furiosa movie I finally got around to
My
seeing.
thumb or your thumb?
My thumb or your thumb, exactly. When we start getting into that distinction, yeah, we're probably out of luck.
I was watching Furiosa. That's that movie that takes place in the Mad Max universe. And Chris Hemsworth is one of the villains. And one of the things he was demanding for his gang was, we need more rations of maggot mush. And I'm like, oh no. Are they grinding up maggots for protein and eating them in the Mad Max Wasteland universe?
I mean, survival.
Oh, that's disgusting. Troublesome details emerge as Predator prequel Badlands starts filming. Now, I don't know how accurate these are. This could just be speculation, or maybe it's good authority. I'm going to read from this. This is from Bleeding Fool. New details have emerged about the upcoming Predator prequel entitled Badlands, including the plot, characters, and confirmation that filming has begun in New Zealand. The information was revealed at AVP Galaxy, who discovered the production code name for the movie was Backpack. The synopsis and character details indicate that Badlands will star Fanning as twin sisters named Thea and Tessa.
Does this sound familiar?
Thea has spent most of her life in a laboratory and is going on her first big adventure in the world, while Tessa has a militant intensity when it comes to achieving her family's goals and mission objectives. Here is a casting call, which includes some unnecessary political red flags. Thea Tessa, the casting is for dual character and describes both characters. Character identifies as female or non-binary. Open ethnicity, mid-20s, mid to mid-40s. Thea has spent most of her life in a laboratory and is now embarking on her first big adventure in the world. She is incredibly smart, witty, enthusiastic, and unflappable. She has an innate disregard for danger, not because she's fearless, but simply because she's naive. Strong comedy chops required. The other sister, Tessa, has a militant intensity when it comes to achieving her family's goals and mission objectives. She will not let anything get in her way, not even her twin sister. What does this remind you of, dude?
Sounds a lot like The Acolyte to me, my friend.
Oh my goodness!
Which we all know was such a winning formula.
Dan Trachtenberg directed the critically acclaimed Prey in 2022. While him, both Badlands and a Prey sequel, Prey reignited the Predator franchise, dropping the Alien Hunter in 1719 and pitting against Amber Midhunters Narua, a young Comanche warrior. Okay. So I guess this one is supposed to take place in the future because it's this people growing in the lab. I got a bad feeling. This reminds me of The Acolyte. Yep. And you know what the problem is? The Acolyte was supposed to be Frozen because people are obsessed with the movie Frozen. They did one of those dragon tattoo movies, and you get to meet, what is it? The main character's sister, and it's like Elsa.
Oh, God.
They were going for that, and I'm thinking this isn't based on one of the Stieg Larsson books. This is based on something that came after.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Oh, and it's like, please stop this. Please stop with the Snow Queen.
Yep.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. I don't want to watch this movie. And this is Disney again. This is Fox, which Disney technically owns. So
of course. Which, it should not surprise you because, that just tells you the level of talent they have. They just keep redoing the same story over. Just the fact that they would even suggest, let's just base it. This is a Star Wars version of Frozen. This is, a Predator version of Frozen. This is,
that Predator prequel called Prey was terrible movie with pretty good production value. I don't think there are any cows in the wasteland to make cheeseburgers, let alone pigs for bacon. Well, there were pigs in Beyond Thunderdome, but they were used for energy because they needed the shit they pooped out, right? Am I wrong? It was pig.
Well, that's true, but if you think about that, like, when a cow gets too old to produce milk, you slaughter it and
beef jerky.
You make exactly. So same thing with the pigs. When they start getting a little too old, hopefully they've squirted out a couple of piglets to start, shoveling their shit, and you make bacon.
Yeah. Oh, Jessica Hardo. Oh, for the love of God, can we get an alien movie with colony soldiers and a guest predator?
I know.
Jesse,
I know, right?
You're never going to get that because they know that's what the fans want.
That sounds too much like a good story. You can't
They
get
did that
from
for one of the
Hollywood anymore.
games.
Yeah.
The Alien vs Predator games. You could play as a Predator or one of the Colonial Marines, and you had to fight the Xenomorph. I think maybe the plot was maybe the Alien Marines and the Predators have to work together because of the Xenomorphs. I think there was a weird alliance. I could be wrong if that was the plot, but I think it was. We never get what we want. If they keep the budget under 30 million, they might make their money back. Well, for all I know, this is a Disney Plus exclusive. Prey was never released in theaters. Now I don't know if Prey was supposed to, and it just ended up on Hulu. Excuse me, Hulu, not Disney Plus.
And again, I'm going to point out, folks, if these Disney Plus exclusives never get released on DVD, then don't consider them canon, because the only people that get to see them are the ones that subscribe to D-, and that's not canon for the general audience.
I mean, if we had a believable character fight in the Predator, I would be all for it.
Oh, you mean like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
Just saying.
I will say this, for that Furiosa movie I watched, yeah, she, like she's not muscle bound, but that's not the point. The point is she can go into cracks and go around things. That was her big advantage in those movies. But Chris Hemsworth was really good in that movie, by the way. He's a good actor.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he was a good villain in that movie. But anyway. All right, Beetlejuice.
Yeah, this one was submitted by our correspondent Mark Melnikoff, who is with us tonight.
Have you? I
haven't seen it yet.
What's this? I don't know if this movie's any good, but it's Tim Burton.
I have heard very mixed reviews.
People are mixed. They love it or they don't like it.
I have heard some people say, "Yeah, this is really good. It's a good follow-up to the movie."
You think it's a generational thing? Maybe the younger people don't get it.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say, "No, this sucks, and it was boring and badly paced." And so I don't know who to believe anymore. And I'm talking like a lot of the big channels that I really enjoy and usually agree with. I'm like, you guys are really split on this.
But I did like the title though. Beetlejuice jumped in the line and earned $41.5 million.
Jumped in the line. I got that reference.
Yes. No, I'm sorry. That was clever. Some people may not think so, but I thought it was, because a lot of the time what they do is when they do the new Halloween, they'll just call it Halloween again. With this, well, no, we'll just call it Beetlejuice 2, but instead we'll just say it twice because that's what they say in the
Right, because you got to say his name 3 times to call him, right? So yeah.
Kind of like a take on the Bloody Mary thing, right?
Yeah.
Jumped in the line and earned $41.5 million from 4,575 locations across Friday and previous screenings. That's the second biggest opening day for a September release, only falling behind 2017's It. It's also the biggest ever for director Tim Burton's career, landing ahead of the $40.8 million opening day of Alice in Wonderland back in 2010. That's a triumphant kickoff for the decades brewing legacy sequel, produced with a budget of $100 million, and for Warner Brothers, it's a much-needed, unmitigated hit. After a summer that saw the studio put out object non-starters like Furiosa, a Mad Max sequel, and Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1, albeit Warner Brothers was not a production financier on that one, just a distributor. Beetlejuice is now potentially looking at $97 million plus opening. Week in North America, it's just 3 days of release, and that would clear more than half of Warner Brothers' total domestic haul across all its summer releases. That film also gets its lion's share of IMAX and other premium large format auditoriums to boost its revenue. There's good potential for Beetlejuice to remain a significant draw on the weekends ahead, considering its PG-13 family friendliness and soon to be seasonally appropriate horror aesthetic as the calendar creeps to Halloween. That's why they released it now.
Yeah,
because if it has legs, they can churn it out into October, and people might want to go see it again,
which is brilliant timing. Real quick, I'm going to bring up this one from Nate. Beetlejuice. Now it's showtime.
And I'll say this is one of the few roles where it doesn't matter if Michael Keaton is a bit older, because it's Beetlejuice, so he already looked kind of craggy in the original, right?
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't look significantly more,
Nothing against
old.
Michael Keaton. He looked right for his age. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
It's just, I might watch Beetlejuice. There was no YouTube ads for it. Yeah, interesting. I didn't see it advertised a ton either. I'm telling you, I think part of the problem with some of these movies is marketing. I think that was part of the
but the
problem with
marketing,
Furiosa.
honestly, what has been the most successful films in the past couple of years? It's not the ones that were marketed the best. It's the ones that got great word of mouth. They're the ones that massively take off. Right? Look, even the ones they're trying to suppress. Look at Song of Freedom, right? That one definitely didn't get any marketing. That one was the biggest moneymaker of the year.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
Yeah. All right. Well, good for Burton. I'm glad to see he's still being able to be a box office draw. Winona Ryder got another starring role, and what's her name? I should know her name. She's the big actress now.
Wednesday Addams.
Oh my goodness, why am I so bad at this? This is why they call me Boomer.
Jen Ortega.
Jen Ortega, yeah. Big deal. And apparently Winona Ryder really liked working with her, which some thought was shade being thrown at Millie Bobby Brown, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Troy, I'm surprised they're not considering to do a double feature on Halloween for Beetlejuice movies. They might. Who says they won't? That would be a great idea.
That, you know, they did that when Blade Runner came out. You could do a special screening of Blade Runner and Blade Runner 20.
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh, William Dafoe's in this. I wonder what ghost. Does he play a ghost in this movie? He'd make an awesome ghost. Come on, think about it. Like one of those weird
Godzilla
ghosts.
-1 did the same thing. Yeah, word of mouth was the whole thing.
I don't know who's running these marketing departments.
And look, this is, at the risk of getting a little political, it's the same thing with politics. You could shovel all the money you want into a candidate, but it's the grassroots that win every time.
Yes. Very interesting. It should be an interesting week on that front.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of movies lately have very little marketing, and I don't think that's intentional because they're trying to save money. Yeah, that might be the case. And then they blame it on the fans and call them mystiphos when it doesn't do well. Like Furiosa, like I remember one YouTuber who I won't mention, but some of you probably know who he is, who kept lambasting. It was someone I used to think was on our side and was lambasting over Furiosa. And I'm just saying, look, I never say anything bad about Furiosa. I do think some consensus is right that there were a lot of these quote unquote girl boss movies that came out, like Captain Marvel, and people were tired of them. And I think Furiosa might have taken the brunt of that. But the movie was fine when I saw it. It was a prequel to Fury Road. So you got to see the history of the character played by Charlize Theron in it. You get to see her.
And you got to keep in mind too that there's a lot of there's a lot of sensitivity, and these things don't exist in a vacuum. So if it comes off and you look at it, if you just look at the marketing for it and you go, well, this looks woke and girl bossy, I'm not going to go see it. Well, kind of your own fault for trying to put that movie out in this climate.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like, they're thinking that I don't like a lot of the, don't like a lot of the young actors. Jenny Ortega's fine. Anya Taylor-Joy, who was in Furiosa, I've always liked her. Rosa Salazar, who played Alita. There are plenty of female leads I'd love to see in more and more movies. It's nothing. I don't know. I remember seeing the Beetlejuice ads in the news channels. Okay, well, I guess they were advertising it. Interesting, the modern movie trailers show
This bothers the hell out of me. It's like you already know the movie going into it. Although some of them screw it up on both ends. They give you too much of the good scenes.
Yeah.
But they also market it wrong, making you think it's something that it's not. And both of those things are bad for marketing.
I liked the trailers for Blade Runner 2049. I thought those were good trailers, both trailers they had for that movie when it came out. Because there was a scene with the guy running the Tyrell Corporation, or what was the Tyrell Corporation, when he says he was making some point. I can only make so many happy birthday when he lets one of the lady out of the tube or whatever, right? The replicant out of the thing, and I'm thinking there was a cruelty in his voice, and I'm like, I already know that guy's evil from the trailer, and it was like, although I wonder if they're going to re-release an animated series Beetlejuice on Blu-ray or DVD collection. There are a lot of those cartoons
that exists that really needs.
That was a great cartoon. Did you ever see that cartoon?
I saw it. I didn't watch it.
It wasn't good. They did a good job basing a cartoon off of the movie.
That
cartoon. I want to see Tiny Toons Adventures on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
We got Batman the animated series. We got a lot of the DC.
And I
cartoons
want
that
all
Blu-ray
of the
that I
real
want.
Ghostbusters released too.
Yeah, that'd be good too. Yeah. I just there's a lot of stuff I'd like. Attacking masculinity is a popular thing. Yeah, very funny. But the
Yeah.
point is, I was just trying to say I don't have a point with female leads. It's just it depends on who the female lead is and how she conducts herself on the screen and also off
and
the
I've
screen.
seen too many writers say, about their female lead. Oh yeah, I was writing her as a dude.
We may have a Brie Larson story.
That is not how you write a female lead. If you are going to have a female lead, write her as a woman. You don't write her as a man and just swap the gender.
Yes. Yeah, Brie Larson may be in the news again for something, but I have to double check my facts before I put it on the air.
Well, you know what they say.
Week. What?
Sweet dreams are made of cheese. Who am I to disagree?
Oh no.
Sorry.
That didn't happen.
I'll see myself out.
Well, okay, but Beetlejuice, I guess we'll never see a Ghostbusters crossover. Huh?
That would be good. And I think it would work too.
Even if it's just like a cameo in one of the Ghostbusters movies.
Absolutely.
Right, shows
well,
up.
It's funny you say that. I might do a video on this. I just got the Tobin Spirit Guide from who's that prop house? I'll do a video about it to talk about it. And there's a lot of little Easter eggs in it, including a reference to Beetlejuice. Magnolia Clothiers, yes. Okay. And Magnolia Props, yeah.
Matt Smith laments trigger warnings for telling audiences how to feel.
Yeah.
A lot of people are lamenting trigger warnings. In fact, many people now think it was the first step towards censorship. Some people who agreed with them at the time are not agreeing with it now. Isn't being shocked, surprised, stirred at the point the House of the Dragon star poses? Matt Smith is worried that everything's being dialed and dumbed down in the entertainment world because of the rise of trigger warnings. Speaking to the Times of London, the House of the Dragon star lamented at how trigger warnings are keeping the audience from having a visceral, unexpected reactions to being shocked, surprised, stirred, which he thinks is the whole point of stories. Mm-hmm. It's okay to feel uncomfortable or provoked while looking at a painting or watching a play, but I worry everything's being dialed and dumbed down, Smith said. We're telling audience they're going to be scared before they've watched something. He continued, isn't being shocked, surprised, stirred the point? Too much policing of stories and being afraid to bring them out because a climate is a certain way is a shame. I'm not sure I'm on board with trigger warnings. Smith then recalled growing up and watching movies that, while perhaps inappropriate for his age, left a lasting impact on him. I used to go to a local video shop and get Slither, Basic Instinct, Disclosure, all those erotic thrillers. I was way too young to be watching them, he shared. I watched Friday the 13th when I was 9. Actually, that scarred me, absolutely ruined me. Did Friday the 13th ruin you? I think you had a story about that, didn't you?
I wouldn't say it ruined me, but it had a direct impact on me. And I think we've talked about that before. I'll have to do another watch party in the future and talk about that a little bit more.
I was saying, bring erotic thrillers back and cast Dakota Johnson. I think that's where she needs to be right now. But that's just my.
Well, make sure you get the right artist to CG in her merkin.
Prefacing an episode of television, a movie, or a piece of theater is with a trigger warning is a practice that gained popularity in recent years to warn audience off of specific content that will be a part of the piece that might be particularly disturbing. Trigger warnings tend to be more specific than the usual parental guideline warning seen before most movies and TV. Commonly warn of domestic or sexual violence, among other things. Smith isn't the first actor to comment on the growing alliance of trigger warnings. Ralph Fiennes broached the subject back in February and came to a similar conclusion about the practice, stopping the audience from being shocked or surprised. I think we didn't used to have trigger warnings, he said. I mean, there are very disturbing scenes like Macbeth, terrible murders and things, but I think the impact of theater should be that you are shocked and you should be disturbed. I forgot to bring up a point to you. They're not just talking about movies. They're talking about theatrical productions too.
Yes.
I remember there's a play called The Foreigner, which is a brilliant comedic play that also takes target at bigotry. Because let's just say a certain 3-letter organization from the South it shows up in the movie in the play, but it's done in a humorous way, and also to point out how prejudice is kind of stupid, and it's doing it in a right way. But then they had a trigger warning. Oh, this play features scenes of men in white sheets and other things, and it might be. It's like, stop.
Well, and this really, really is the problem. What is that saying about, hard times make strong men make good times make weak men, weak men make hard times. And we are going out of our way to create weak, not just weak men, weak everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody is weak. Yeah. Everybody is fragile. And it's like, you need to get your crap together, people. You got to stop letting words hurt you. Okay?
Yes.
Show me the bones that those nasty words hurt. Show me the trauma you have from seeing a man in a white sheet that might not like people that are different from him.
Yes.
Right? Maybe get over yourself and your feelings and start doing something constructive to make this a better world.
Well, the constructive thing is the play. You know what the plot of the play The Foreigner is? There's a young man, and he's going on vacation with his friend, but his friend has to leave him alone. You can't leave me here. I'm very shy. I won't be able to talk to anybody. He doesn't know what to do because he's really weird, afraid because he's gonna have to start socializing with other people in the hotel. And he says, "Look, I'll tell them you're from another country. You don't speak the language, okay? That way they won't." And so, as the play goes on, he makes up fake foreign sounding words because he's the foreigner. And then eventually he starts speaking English words around them, but in this weird accent. And they're all and a lot of the Southerners, they're all fascinated by him. Oh, where are you from? I want to hear about your country. They're interested. They're not.
Now he's going to have to make shit up, right?
And then he's making stuff. And it's so funny because it's a brilliant performance by whoever has to do that main role. Because it's an American trying to be a foreigner who's learning English words. You understand?
Yeah.
He's too shy. And then one of the guys in the neighborhood is a bigot and doesn't want. I don't know why you're all narrow by this guy. I don't like this guy because he's not from this country. The usual thing.
Right.
It's a funny play because he says the only foreign words I know are Klaatu, Verada, Niktu. He said, to the guy, because he's a science fiction writer.
Right,
but it's a good play. I recommend it. But they put trigger warnings at it at some university, and I'm like, don't. That's the point.
And it's getting so ridiculous that it's going to have to be. You're going to have to start putting a blanket trigger warning on everything. And I'd actually like to see this because it would be a form of satire. This book, movie, TV show, article may contain things that offend you. Because everything offends somebody at some point.
They have trigger warnings.
Be aware.
They have trigger warnings on Aladdin on the Disney Channel.
Of course.
A kids movie. Family movie. I think we didn't used to have trigger warnings. We had disturbing. Okay. Fines continued. I don't think you should be prepared for these things. And when I was young, we never had trigger warnings for shows. Shakespeare's plays are full of a lot of murders, full of horror. As a young student and lover of theater, I never experienced trigger warnings telling me, by the way, in King Lear, Gloucester's going to have his eye pulled out. It's a shock, the unexpected. That's what makes an actor theater so exciting. Thanks for spoiling it for me.
There are a lot of great movies that, and actually some not so great movies, that have scenes that you just aren't expecting. And when it happens, it's like, oh, crap. There was possibly horror, possibly thriller, depending on how you evaluate it, called The Lodge. With what was that girl's name? She was clueless and then she went vegan.
Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah, Alicia Silverstone. And early in the movie, this is a spoiler for The Lodge, if you don't want to know about it, because this is an important story point early on. she finds out that her husband's cheating on her and he wants her to move out. And they're going to have to deal with, she's got 3 kids or whatever and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So she says, okay, you know, we'll work this out. He leaves for work. The kids leave for school. She cleans the house top to bottom, sits down at her dining room table, has a glass of wine, takes a gun out of her purse, puts it in her mouth, sprays her brains all over the wall behind her. It is a shock because you do not see it coming, and it is so realistic. And it is like a gut punch.
Yes.
And I'm like, you don't put a trigger warning on that. You need to experience that or don't watch movies, period.
I remember there was an episode of Superman the Animated Series that was a gut punch too. I'm not going to say which episode that is, but I didn't see something coming because that's the point.
Netta's over here going, trigger warning, and she's doing the finger. I'm like, oh God, I didn't realize I'd said that. Good point, Netter.
Whatever happened to sticks and stones awake my bones, but names will never hurt me. I don't know. I'm telling you, everyone's too sensitive these days. Children are living shelter life. I mean, cut sugar cane. I hunted every day and boxed it in high school. These kids are fragile. Oh, I cut sugar cane. Oh, I see. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to know where you're from that
Hey,
you did that.
Troy saw a bear once when he was in the Scouts.
I scared the shit out of that bear.
Yes.
So yes, I know that bears shit in the woods. Actually, I didn't actually see him shit, but
Part of growing up childhood is sometimes you get into some danger. And you
very
survive.
very stupid things. Yeah. I alluded to it. I didn't go into details, but we just did a watch party last week, Cliffhanger and Last Action Hero. By the way, Boomer, I actually liked Last Action Hero. I know
you're allowed to like it. A lot of people do. I'm thinking it killed the action movie.
It may have done, but there was nothing bad about it that it should have done.
My father was a huge fan of that movie too. He thought it was cool, but I'm just
saying,
I want my Arnold movies back where he's just being.
I get it. But
like in Total Recall, when he walks into the recall place and he says, "Don't bullshit me," and he says it so with that Austrian accent, and it's like, what is this character doing in this dystopian future? And that's the rub. It's like peanut butter and chocolate. You don't think the two go together, but it's perfect. It's
exactly.
Like,
no, but in Cliffhanger, Netter's like, oh my God, that guy's insane. I would never do that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at it going, yeah, I did that in Boy Scouts without telling our troop leader, without safety rigs. And I'm lucky I'm here today, climbing up the side of a sheer cliff face. Yeah, I was dumb as a kid. Well, I'm not saying I'm not dumb now, but I have a little bit more wisdom. Louisiana and Texas. Yeah, see, I know you got to live in temperate regions in order to grow sugarcane. We don't grow enough sugarcane here in the States, which is why they've decided to move to high fructose corn syrup. Don't even get me started. That's a whole other topic.
Troy, you mean she played Clueless? She went vegan.
And then he became clueless. Yes, exactly.
Well, I don't know if she's militant vegan. I don't have a problem with people who go vegan for their own.
Did you see that she went viral just recently because she went and picked some berries from somebody's front yard garden? First off, she's reaching into somebody's private property.
No, not okay.
And then secondly, it turns out that the berries that were being grown were not edible berries. They're highly poisonous.
Oh my God. And then she sued the owner.
Well, I haven't seen the follow-up on that yet.
Oh, I don't know. I am
pretty clueless, yes.
I am going to say, though, that, I also sometimes think different diets work for different people. I know that Jordan Peterson's daughter had to go straight carnivore, and that worked for her health. I think people are built differently.
A lot of people are talking about, and I am a big, just like I think that that vegan is stupid, I think 100% carnivore is stupid too. We are omnivores, right? We should have a very well balanced diet. Find the balance that's right for you. I do think that
that's what I'm saying. That's what I think these people are doing.
More meat than not at all. But the most of the people that you're hearing about that are going carnivore and having great positive results because of it is because they were vegan and they were friggin' dying from it. So when you suddenly replace all that protein and as essential amino acids you can only get from meats, suddenly your health does get better, So
Troy, when it comes to my generation, we can handle Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers, and Full Metal Jacket. Can't handle loud noise, let alone a bad word. How the hell do they watch movies?
I'll tell you something. I know I've told this story before. I went to see Saving Private Ryan in the theater, and there was a lot of older gentlemen in the theater. And that opening scene, I could look down, because it's a bright scene. It lights up the auditorium, and I'm looking and I'm seeing the looks on a lot of these men's faces, and it's like they're reliving this.
Yeah.
This really and if you know the behind the scenes on Saving Private Ryan, Steven Spielberg interviewed survivors and not just, it was Omaha, Juneau, all the different beaches. And they would describe a scene like, I remember my buddy, I don't know, Harry or whatever. And I looked down the beach and I saw him walking around just looking for something. And then he reached down and picked up an arm. And when he turned around, I saw it was his arm. Well, that scene is in the movie.
Yep.
And you realize all that shit you see in the movie is based on a story that somebody told. It might be a fictionalized version of it, but that really happened to someone somewhere.
Yeah, a lot of good men gave their lives that day. And
so maybe toughen up, people.
Yeah.
This stuff you're seeing in the movies really happened to somebody if you watch those kinds of movies. If you're watching a bunch of fictional shit that didn't happen to anyone ever, and you're bitching about, whether or not orcs are being treated right racially, fuck you. Get out in the real world and do something.
They have like sympathetic orc characters on that Amazon show, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. Orcs are monsters. They're not.
Lives matter.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
They're just bad. There's no nuance there. Stop with this nonsense. We have bacteria enzymes that process most thousands of years. Agriculture will get wheat and beans to be edible. Interesting. Okay, and that wraps us up almost at the 11 o'clock mark. Look at that.
That was pretty good timing.
Not as many stories this week, but we had enough to cover it. Trigger warnings are bad egg with Matt Smith. Good actor, Matt Smith.
Absolutely.
I wish his doctor had better stories, but I thought his doctor was great when he was on.
I did feel like, some of the better ones were probably because I think there was a lot of stories that were written for the Matt Smith that weren't written for the Matt Smith doctor. They were written for the David Tennant doctor.
Right.
And they just said, well, we didn't get to him in time. We'll just give it to Matt Smith.
The episode we have to go kill Mustache Man.
Yeah, that was dumb.
That was considered one of the worst episodes of that season. I'm like, well, okay. So are you going to do it or not? That's what first thing I was thinking.
Right, exactly.
And then they were in some kind of weird machine like, well, we're going to go punish the bad people in history, but not kill them. And they're going to forget that we gave them this punishment.
But see,
what's the point?
It kind of defeats the whole fixed point in time thing. That's the problem.
I don't like, I'm going to say this too about New Who. I didn't like all these other people being able to time travel.
Yeah.
I thought the whole point of the Time Lords was they were the ones that had the time travel technology.
And the Daleks, which I think
Daleks eventually got it.
They stole it from
the
Centaurans.
wanted time travel technology too. They invaded Gallifrey in one episode. Remember the old show? They invaded Gallifrey. They were working with another alien race that was toying around time travel too, because the Centaurans wanted time travel as well. So it wasn't just the Time Lords, but the Time Lords only wanted.
See, this is why I really feel like Doctor Who has missed so many great opportunities. How cool would it have been? We've had the Sultarans for what? 40, 50 years.
They're some of my favorite monsters, actually. Favorite enemy.
What if they did a story where they invade Gallifrey and the Gallifreyans, not the Doctor, but they send some other agent back in time to wipe out the Sultarans at the beginning of their civilization. And literally that's what happens. And there are no Sultarans ever again in Doctor Who.
Why? I like the
because
Centaurs.
I do too. But man, what a story that would be, right? And then you can have the Doctor find out about this and say, look, I understand the Sultarians attack, but that's just beyond the pale. That's a war crime and this and that. And then you lead into the Time War, where other races find out what happened and they all declare war on the Time Lords because you can't do that.
This is why the Time Lords, the Time Lords never came off to me as genocidal. That's the thing. Like, they told the Doctor the only reason they were sending him to go with the Daleks is, you want me to prevent them from being created or stunt their development. They gave him that option too, remember?
Yeah.
If you can have it be so they don't end up wiping everything out. You know?
But I did like the fact that
yes.
what ends up happening is it becomes an ontological paradox, and the Doctor's interference is what leads the Dalek to become, the imperialistic, defend themselves against, the evil Time Lords.
Well, they were doing badly for a while, though. After that, they were suffering because of their war with the Movellans, which then brought back.
It really looked like, though, if they had left it alone, if the Time Lords had not gotten involved, maybe the Daleks would have just died out on their own.
The trouble is, they foresaw a future where the Daleks were going to wipe everything out with their timey-wimey stuff. They saw the Daleks eventually wiping out every other race.
Could be, yeah.
That was the reasoning why they were getting involved.
But like I said, I think that it becomes like, what was not the Edge of Tomorrow? What was the one? Not Minority Report. What's the one where they look into the future?
Yeah.
And every time they look into the future, they end up making some things worse and worse. I think it was a Tom Cruise movie. No, wasn't it? It wasn't
Edge of Tomorrow, Live Die Repeat, was it? Was it Minority Report with the where he was the cop?
No, it was. I'm sorry, it wasn't Tom Cruise. It was Ben Affleck. It was Paycheck.
Oh, Uma Thurman was in that, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
I think so.
Yes,
and it turns out that every time they figure out how to look into the future, and every time they look into the future, they're making that future come to pass. And they're literally bringing about the end of the world by trying to avoid the end of the world.
That was smart. They did that in the Time Machine movie where his wife kept dying over and over again.
Yes.
The Morlock says your wife has to die each time by something for you to want.
Otherwise, you wouldn't go back in time.
Create the time machine. So that was a clever thing. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had a pretty good season where they were stuck in a time loop because every time they tried to prevent the world from getting destroyed, they failed each time, even though they had prior knowledge of the previous group of themselves that did the same thing, and they kept trying to stop it over and over again. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, that's it for Geeky Geezers. Yay!
So I'm gonna go freshen up a little bit.
Other side of midnight.
I got about an hour, but I'm going to go hang out with Deleted Scenes over on the other side of midnight. Those of you over on my channel, you will be auto-dramatically sent over there, but we don't start for about another hour or so. So just, hang out there, chit chat, hit the like, notification bell, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. And we'll see you over there in about an hour. Yes. Don't know what we'll be talking about, but it'll be good.
It'll be light.
Yeah.
Perhaps. And then tomorrow night you're gonna have a double feature on your channel, right?
Yeah, tomorrow night, Monday.
Or no, you only have one movie, right? Because you're gonna be on Pops.
No.
Happened. Okay.
No.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna get it wrong each time. Let me just tell everybody. So tomorrow night, Monday night at the movies is a Terminator 2-fer. It's the Terminator and Terminator 2 with special guest Sin's Corner. Sin will be running a little late because she's got to go see the Regal mystery movie that she'll review on Tuesday.
Mystery movie. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mystery movie.
Mystery meat movie. Yes, exactly. But it'll be a Terminator and Terminator 2, 8 Central, 9 Eastern is when we start. And the reason that I'm doing Terminator is because the following day on Tuesday, 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern over on Pops' channel, Talk Hard, we will be talking the Terminator. So I figured, all my viewers can brush up on Terminator with me the day before we go over to Pops's and talk about it the next day. Then we will hang out. You and me and Netter will go hang out with Deleted Scenes live from Sparkwood and 21 on Tuesday night at 7:30, as we do every Tuesday night at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, for the next episode of Twin Peaks: The Return. I think we're on episode 11 or episode 12. I think it's episode 11. So yeah, I consider this to be the big Jim Belushi episode. And pie works its way back into the story. So if you've been waiting for the cherry pie, it's coming.
I think we had to see some breakfast cereal too, right? If memory serves.
Breakfast cereal.
Never mind. I remember a scene with Jim Belushi eating breakfast cereal. Spoiler for the scenes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, maybe I'm just not remembering the details. But
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do like that scene when they're eating the breakfast cereal.
Yes.
I'll explain why when we get to it. And then Wednesday, nothing going on this week, but on
Right.
Thursday, well, Netters Network's Thursday things. Who's their special guest this week?
Raquel SSG 2211 or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, Raquel will be Netter's special guest. That's 9 Central, 10 Eastern. Tune in, get to know her, find out about her channel, maybe subscribe to her. That's what it's all about. So that'll be on Thursday. Friday is Friday the 13th. So I know that Big Al and Deleted Scenes will be doing a Films with Friends matinee. I guess that would be like 7 Central, 8 Eastern, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be watching Friday the 13th Part 2. That is the first one with Jason.
Yes, with the burlap sack.
With a burlap sack over his face. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. No hockey mask just yet.
That might be my favorite of the first 4. Not that I'm a huge fan of that series, but that one was pretty good. That was pretty close to
I have retroactively gotten to be a fan of it. And let's face it, the first 3 movies are the iconic 3 films.
Well, 4 is better than 3 is the 3D one.
I like the 3D one.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well,
okay. Admittedly, I watched it without the 3D glasses because it was the equivalent of watching it through
so
the
you can see the guy
lattice work of
holding
my
the eye
fingers.
up to the screen and wondering why he's doing that.
Yeah, that's kind of yeah.
Or
Let me tell you though, when they did that, I mean, those were good 3D. Oh, you've never seen it in 3D, have you?
Well, you know what's funny? The DVD I have apparently comes with a 3D version on it and 3D glasses, so I should maybe check it out sometime.
Well, I'm wondering if that's
3D.
true 3D or if that's like a red-blue or
It's
red
the red
green
blue
3D.
crap.
Yeah, that's no good. That's not even worth
Okay,
it.
well, that's what they did.
But back then, it was those ones that are, the gray glasses, like the ones that you're wearing in this picture right here.
Yes.
And it was true 3D. So when something was coming at you, you would duck because it really looked like something was coming at you. And when he fires that harpoon, you were like, ah, And he holds the eyeball up to you. It was like 3 inches from your nose. And those 3D movies back then were actually really good. I'm telling you, that same, I'm not sure if it was the same year or right around there, Jaws 3D came out. Louis Gossett Jr. and Dennis Quaid and wasn't Tess Armstrong in that? Or I don't remember. Anyway, I thought it was a great movie. Everyone pans it now. And when I watch it now, I'm like, okay, yeah, the shark looks terrible coming at the screen. But in 3D, when it's really coming out of the screen, holy crap.
Yes.
So
that'll be...
see, Jesse's saying never saw it in 3D before, never seen it in 3D before the same Jaws 3D. Yeah, if you've only ever seen the cable, the DVD, or whatever, and most of those when they do 3D, it's that picture box 3D where it looks 3D going into the screen, whereas this true 3D, it's coming out of the screen at you. Honestly, I haven't seen that level of 3D since I was a kid. They just don't do it anymore. And that was some really, really good 3D. It actually punched up a lot of mediocre films. Treasure of the Four Crowns was a great one. I've mentioned this before. There's a scene where the hero is like on the ground. The bad guy's got a red hot poker and is going to stick it in his forehead. And you take the first person view of the hero, and that red hot poker, your eyes cross to look at it, and you can see the smoke coming up off of it. It's a friggin' amazing.
I mean, I believe you.
Sashi says, being in retail, I see a lot of idiots in 3D.
Oh, you poor person, you. Yeah, that's
Makes me think of the Muppets where
I work retail.
Wasn't it the Swedish chef? He's sitting eating popcorn with the glasses on. He throws the popcorn in the air. Oh, the 3D, and the popcorn's falling on his face.
Yeah. 3D for Avatar was really, really good.
I'll take your word for that. I didn't care enough about Avatar to go see it in the theaters, let alone
it was supposed to be revolutionary 3D though.
That's what I heard, but
and that's why we ended up getting all those 3D movies after it. In fact, they were starting to turn movies that weren't 3D and try to make them 3D to get that sweet Avatar money.
Yeah. See, unfortunately, that's kind of like upscaling movies using AI. It's not going to be that good.
All right, that brings us to last call, which I think will be.
Oh yeah.
Are we still doing the thing we're going to?
Yes, we will. So this week is the anniversary of 9/11, and I think it's time to do a retrospective and remembrance. So that's what we'll be talking about on last call, 9 Central, 10 Eastern on Friday.
We'll talk a bit about that.
And then Saturday, whose week is it this Saturday? I think we just did Little Shop of Horrors with Netter. So no, that was Big Al.
Big Al, yeah.
Netter this week is hosting the Timothy Chalamet Dune Part 1. With a special guest.
Hello, Humans Thade.
Hello, Humans Thade. Exactly.
All right.
So that's the weekend review, guys.
All right. So we'll see you next time. I'll be sure to check out also Deleted Scenes channels. They'll have a pre-show. I usually put a link to it in my description, and be sure to check out The Other Side of Midnight. Y'all have a good week. Thank you for tuning in.
Take care, everyone.
Auf Wiedersehen.